Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, your host of Unbreakable Mompreneurs. And today we have Linda Grizely with us. And she is going to talk to you about money and mindset and a whole lot of other stuff. So Linda, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. You did a great job of introducing me already, but I am a money mindset mentor. My company is Mindset and Money. I'm also a financial planner is another role that I serve. But today we're going to be talking mostly about mindset and how that affects your relationship with money.
Thank you. And we talked briefly right before. How did you get into this?
So I actually got into the money mindset because of my job in financial planning and working with clients who, just had like these internal blocks. And I kept thinking, like, gosh, they just need to get out of their own way. Like I don't understand why they're not seeing what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. And it really it caused me to think about like how I had in my life opened my eyes to bigger and better things and really just moving forward with an open mind. And I started researching this whole idea of money mindset. And it really is truly interesting. It's all about like behaviors and behavioral finance, which is a big part of my job in financial planning. But I wanted to focus on just that behavioral part so that I could bring that transformation to mainly women, because we're brought up with so many limiting beliefs around money. Yeah.
Well, and you have children, right?
Uh-huh.
And so do you feel like when, earlier when they were first born and stuff, that you needed to be that mom to take care of them and be there for them? And so getting a career where you were making a whole lot of money, kind of what you shared, do you mind sharing some of that stuff, that you would go to fairs or you do other things where you would make things, but you have a new perspective now, right? So
I do.
I'm trying to set it up a little because I don't want to overshare what you don't want to share. Sure. But would you mind talking about that?
Of course. I did work. So I have 3 children of my own. I also have been blended marriage, so I have stepkids now too, but they're all adults. Right. But when I had my first child, I actually worked. I was a working mom, mm-hmm. and I had a career, and it was a good career. But when I had my second child, I unexpectedly decided to stay home. Mm-hmm. That's a whole nother story. But so I stayed home, and I ended up having a third child, and I was home for about 13 years. And while I was at home, I was, finding part-time jobs or doing projects, selling through, the multi-level marketing kinds of things, but all these things to keep me busy. And really, I was making some money, but I wasn't really making any money, but it was to keep my mind active and everything. I think I shared with you, I made scarves and was selling them at a craft shows and things like that. But, in reflection, when I look back, all that energy and all that time I spent on those things, I really wish that I had thought bigger. And I wish that I had thought like more big picture. My world was just so small. And I think that's part of like when you're with your kids and you're raising your family, your world does become a lot smaller. But realizing that I could have started something then that maybe I just worked on a little bit here and there and worked towards something that then when my kids were older and I was ready to get back into the workforce, like maybe I would have had something to take with me then. So actually building a business, mm-hmm. That's part of my mindset journey, is realizing that in hindsight. But that's one of the things that I hope to, help other people with too.
Well, and I think because you're your best, sometimes you're your best client, you're your worst client, but knowing that you've lived through that and you now see it differently, that I think is where you have such a testament of what could be. And I think, I think a lot of times, because my goal was always to be a stay-at-home mom. And now that I have the opportunity, because my husband's making enough, it's like, well, that's my goal. But, my kids are in school for 7 hours a day. I don't have to just be here doing stuff. And I've never been that person because I've always supported our family from the very beginning. And so it's hard to make that shift. But I think that the thought of me just sitting home, cleaning the house, making sure the house is clean and the dishes are done and the food is ready, it's hard once you've seen something else, right? So I don't think I can go back. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I can juggle more, I think. And I know what it can take. And sometimes it's easier because you've built a business, so you can easily do it again. And so I think that it is hard. But also now that you've been to that place and now you are where you are, is it you can see and you want to bring people to where you are? Is that kind of, am I making sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's exactly it. I want to help people get that bigger money mindset and think more about ways to overcome internal obstacles to thinking like what they can or can't accomplish. You know, I don't regret being a stay-at-home mom at all. I mean, I absolutely love that time that I spent with my kids. And that was super important to me. And I'm really glad I had that opportunity. Not everybody gets that. So I feel very blessed for that. I just wish that I would have spent my productive time doing something that was truly productive instead of such, you know, just in that moment productive, you know. Just it was really ended up just being busy work to get a couple extra bucks rather than building something.
That's what I'm trying to say. So thank you. Because I'm not trying to diminish it all. Because being able to be at home and have, like, when I quit my job from corporate and came to entrepreneur, it's because your kids really do need you and they need you to be there if you can. For me, yeah, it absolutely was worth the time that I was able to do that. How do you help people get unstuck and be able to move forward in their life and get out of that, oh, it's me, and you know, this is how much we're just going to have to live on a fixed income? How do you get people out of that mindset?
So I'm a natural cheerleader for people, right? I lift them up, and I take pride in that, and I hope that I can help as many people as possible, right? But in the money mindset cohort that I do, it's a group program. I have them take assessments that were created by psychologists. So it's not just me saying like, oh, I did this, you can do it too. No, it's actual like psychology based assessments that they take, and it gets written feedback from those psychologists in that created these programs. And then we talk about it, right? And the idea in talking about it is to get out like, what is your money story? What do you believe? Why do you believe it? And then how can we help you get through it? How can I help you get through it? And I do it in a group setting so that you have interaction with other people so that you know that you're not alone. Literally everybody has some sort of money psychology, some kind of belief or blockage or story. Everybody has it. It doesn't matter how long you work on it, you'll still have it. You'll have different ones though. Hopefully you can just keep improving. So it's also educating about finances and making you feel more confident and comfortable with talking about it, and understanding what different things mean. And I think that women, especially like coming to a financial planner, for instance, like they're very timid and they like, I don't know anything, and they're embarrassed. So it's almost like somebody who says, you know, I want to get in shape before I go to the gym because I'm too embarrassed to go to the gym because I'm out of shape, right? Same thing. I used to be a personal trainer, so I also have that knowledge, but it's kind of the same thing. So I want to have an open space where it's completely comfortable for people to talk about their money and their beliefs around money and their situation, so that they can learn and in a place that they don't feel intimidated by it.
So let's talk about that, because I was 30 years old. Maybe I was 35. I don't know. But there's this lady, my loved ones, I won't blame them, but they hooked me up with this financial planner, and she put me into all of these annuities, right? And so at the time, like I'm 30-ish years old, and now I know what I know. Annuities is probably not the best thing for me. For other people that might be a little older, sure. But for me at the time, you know, and I watched, she's like, oh, we got to get you a life insurance policy. We have to do this or that. And so like, I'll just throw it out there. It's the policy is nothing. If I were to die, it would not pay off a house. It would not pay off anything, but if there's an annuity, right? And so I got to be honest, I was a little angry when I was a little more educated, because I'm like, wow, my money has not grown as fast as it could have. And that money in there, where it could be today versus where it is currently, is really sad to me. And so what do you recommend for somebody that comes to you and says, what do I do? Like, how do I know? Because how do I know what I should look for in a financial planner so that they actually do care and take care of me?
Sure. So there are different ways that financial advisors, financial professionals get paid.
Right.
And that's the main thing that you want to focus on. There are people that are out there and say that they are financial professionals, but really all they do is sell insurance.
Yeah.
And they have no obligation to you whatsoever. They're just selling a product. Same as if they were, you know, coming to you saying, hey, I have all these watches in my jacket, right? I'm sorry, I don't mean to. There are great insurance people out there, and insurance serves a wonderful purpose, and it is a big part of planning. But then there's also people who are, so those are people that just make commission only. Yeah. And then there's people that are fee-based, where they might charge a fee. So they could charge you a planning fee to do a plan for you. They could also sell commissioned products, annuities and insurance, life insurance. And they can also take assets under management and earn money off of the money that they're holding for you. So they can earn money 3 different ways. That's fee-based. Then you have fee only. And fee only is someone who charges you a fee for planning and can also take assets under management. And there's different business structures, but generally speaking, a fee-only advisor can act as a fiduciary and would put it out there, say, I'm a fiduciary, and they act in the client's best interest, right? And then there are advice-only planners that just charge a fee and don't take assets under management, so don't charge you money on your money. And they're also usually fiduciaries. So you want to understand how the person that you talk to is getting paid. That's one of the first questions that you should ask, and do a little bit of research before you just go and work with a planner maybe that somebody recommended to you. But that doesn't mean that everybody that's in those positions is going to take advantage of you, but you just want to make sure you understand, so you know, like, if you feel like maybe they're biased because they're pushing you one way and you're not sure that's in your best interest, then maybe you need to find a different planner.
Yeah, I like that advice. And I think that it might be good to interview maybe 2 or 3 instead of, like you said, just going with the referral. So it's true.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to money, and how can you make sure that, like, you can set your goals and achieve your goals? What are some things that you recommend?
So set reasonable goals, achievable goals, as like little milestones along the way. So you might have your big goal, but make sure you have something that's achievable, because if you set your goals too big, then you're going to fail. And I don't mean that like as an absolute end all, but pretty much, right? So let's say you decide that you're going to budget and you're going to cut your expenses by 50%. Well, my gosh, who can just do that cold turkey? Like, just be like, oh my God, I'm spending half as much. That's not a goal that's easily achievable. And you're going to feel like a failure, because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's just not happening. Month after month, I'm not meeting my goal. But if you say, you know what, I'm going to cut out like, one Starbucks coffee a week. I'm just going to cut out by 1. That's easy. That's an easy goal. You're not just like saying like, I'm doing it every single day or whatever. So having those easy milestones, and then you can celebrate small successes on your way to the bigger successes.
I like that. So if I'm like a mom and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm starting to make money because it's starting to take off, what do you recommend that I do?
So the first thing I recommend is that you stay away from what we call lifestyle creep. So lifestyle creep is where you get a raise or you start making some money and you just start spending that money. And then the more money you make, the more money you spend, and you never actually like save it and put it away. So take that extra each time, like, maybe half to you and half to the savings, right? To create your fund for whatever your goal might be. But so avoiding that, creep into your lifestyle where you just keep like upping your level of spending instead of saving.
I have never heard that term. I love it. Lifestyle creep. Because it's so true. When you start making money, because you grow up, and I remember learning this in college, where whatever your parents make, if you can beat them even just by a little, then you're successful in life. And I don't really think that that's the case anymore, because in the last year it's 17% inflation, so that's not really relevant. And what they made 30 years ago versus what you make now, that's completely different. And so how do you get out of that and shift your mindset to realize that it's not about what your parents make, or it's not about, but that your potential, that you can actually do very, very well? How do you help people get out of that stuck mindset?
Right. So we work on money stories, and the stories or scripts, they're sometimes called, are what we have learned through our lifetime, as far as like what people have told us that we can or can't do with money, or just limiting beliefs over how much you can or can't make, different things like that. So it's really figuring out what your goal is and how you're going to get there, and believing in that goal. So that's another thing, is really believing that you can do it is a big part of it. Like if you say, I want to make I'm going to make $100,000 a year, but you don't believe that you can make it, then you're not going to make it, because you're not going to truly believe it. And it's really a lot about really setting your mind and focusing on a goal, and then taking those little steps along the way. I like to say, if you have a goal in mind, and a goal can be a feeling, not even necessarily an amount or a thing, but it can be a feeling. If you have a goal in mind, take some sort of step every single day to work toward that goal. I don't care how small it is, just one little step. Some days you're going to take bigger steps. You're going to work on it a lot more, but some days you're just gonna be like, oh, it'll be the end of the day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't do anything to work toward that goal today. Do something, send an email, make a phone call, reach out to a friend, whatever it is that you need to do to just move the dial one little spot,
I love that. Because it is true that if you are working towards a dream, like I have this calling that I truly believe that I'm supposed to be doing, and this podcast is part of that. And so it's like, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do? And just one little thing that it's easy to get overwhelmed, and it's easy to feel like I'm not accomplishing anything. But if you can do the one thing, then that's great. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to, let's shift gears for a little bit. You're a working mom, right? An entrepreneur. And so what is a piece of advice that you would give somebody starting out in a business that you wish you would have known now?
Keep your eye on that goal, right? Keep your mind focused on that goal. Believe in yourself. Know that you can do it. When you start to have doubts and put negative energy out, that's going to work against you. So stay true to your goal, but also be reasonable. Don't just keep throwing money at something. Don't overspend. Right. Keep your checkpoints in place. And that's the basics. There's a lot more to it, but.
No, because there's two businesses where I talk a lot on my podcast about families and friends. Be careful when you go into business with them. But how I was so far, I just kept throwing money, trying to solve a problem. And yet I wasn't the one managing that. And I didn't agree with the way it was being managed. And so at one point I just said, no more purse strings. Like, I'm shutting the purse strings. I cannot afford to bleed any more money. And, sometimes you can think, well, I'm so far into this, I should just keep going. But no, because you're going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. So at some point you just have to say, cut your losses, let's move on let's go to something else. Whereas, there's another one where I was talking with somebody yesterday, and they had gone to a conference, and this guy, he's 23 years old, and he started this business where he sold masks during the pandemic and made $20 million. And so obviously pandemic's over, masks aren't that big of a deal. So he's like, okay, now what else can I do? And so he's constantly looking for something. There's a need that there is. But you think of it, I call him a kid because he's my kid's age, $20 million in a year because of masks. It's like, that is somebody who doesn't have any type of blockage. They just go and they do, and they press forward. And if it works out, great, which it did. Sometimes it doesn't always. And so why do you think people are, or what do you think people's blocks are when it comes to money and being successful in what they choose to pursue?
So there's all kinds of blocks. There's, I think that it goes back to the money scripts, right? Yeah. So whether you're avoiding money, worshiping money, when you're worried about status or vigilance, those are the main ones. But there's always, variations of that, and things that are just within your own head that don't fall into those boxes. The main thing about it is to think of it as a limiting belief. Whatever it is, whatever your thing that's holding you back is, it's a limiting belief. Like this kid that you're talking about, right? He obviously didn't have a limiting belief. He was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to figure this out. And I see a need, and I'm taking advantage of the opportunity, right? So being able to know that you can take advantage of an opportunity and seize the day, so to speak, is one thing. So when you think that you can't do it, you know, what are the reasons that you're telling yourself you can't do it?
Right.
And is that true? Like, I can't do that because I'm a stay-at-home mom and I have too many other responsibilities. Well, you probably do have a million responsibilities as a stay-at-home mom, but is it really true that you can't do that thing? No, you're going to do what you put your mind to. So if you want to put your mind to it, take one small step every day towards it. If you have a belief that you can't, figure out what the sources of the belief. Why is it that I think that? Why do I think that I can't do this? And then just choose not to believe that anymore. And then, you know, replace that belief with I can do this, whatever it happens to be. And then set those small goals so that you find evidence that you can actually do it. Because if, like I said, if you set it too big, then it's just going to be so hard and it's just going to be defeating. But if you set these small things as you're working toward it, and you have that new belief that you can do it, and then you're getting that evidence as you go in those small goals, that's how you just keep building.
And I think that it's important to have a coach, and for a reason. So I'm going to piggyback on that because, you know, you hear people all the time that talk about, oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. And I can't afford it. And they do that as they're drinking their big Red Bull or their $5 or $6 coffee, or, you know, whatever it may be. They do that. And I find it interesting, or they're smoking their cigarettes, and how much does a cigarette pack of cigarettes cost? Or like for me and my family, ice cream is the big thing, right? And so I don't care what it is. There's some addiction that we all have that we spend money on. Maybe that's going to the movies every single weekend, or it doesn't matter what it is. Maybe that's taking long drives in the canyon with $4 or $5 or $6 a gallon gas. It doesn't matter. Yet we complain and we complain that we can't afford it. We can't afford it. But yet, if you have a coach, they can point out to you, hey, well, how much are you spending here? You know, and so it's the same type of thing, is that you have an outside perspective that can help guide you. And I think that that's why someone like you, it's so important to have a coach, that if you really have a goal that you want to accomplish, you've got to get help for it, because you need an outside perspective and you need somebody in your corner cheering you on. Do you see big changes? And this is kind of a ridiculous question to ask, but from somebody who starts with you versus somebody who ends, like, what is that journey like?
So it's amazing, like in 8 weeks, to think that you can go from having your mindset be one way and then come to do all this internal work, because it's truly internal work.
Yeah.
Where you're really thinking about what your actions are and why your actions are the way they are. And then coming out at the end of 8 weeks and having more confidence and understanding behaviors, right? So you kind of touched on this a little bit, but let's talk about, like, I'm not sure what your ice cream thing is, but let's say that, like, you know, you have a bad day, so you come home and you eat some ice cream, yeah. But then one of your goals is to lose weight, but here you are eating ice cream because you had a bad day. Yeah. Or you shop, like you got the Amazon app on your phone, and when you just want that little endorphin rush from whatever it is, but is that really serving your long-term goal? And you're getting that immediate satisfaction. But what's another way you could get immediate satisfaction rather than that? Like, try to replace that trigger, so to speak, or that behavior with something that's more positive. Figure out what that is. Like, maybe instead of spending, maybe you're like, I'm going to take $5 out of my checking account and move it to my savings account. Look, my savings account is growing. Maybe that's a good way. You know, it's different for every single person, because there's so much psychology that goes into it. And I don't claim to be a psychologist or a therapist or anything. I just claim to be a person who helps you look inside yourself and figure out what those things might be.
I love that. That's great. Okay, so last question. But as a mom who's an entrepreneur, what is a piece of advice that you would give moms who have children and the juggling, because I don't even like to use the word juggling, but to be a mom and still have your business? What is some advice you can give us?
So make sure that you are keeping the lifestyle that you want while you're doing your business. Keep a priority. I shouldn't say priority, because your kids are your priority, but do keep a priority on moving the needle every day on your business, and just think bigger, think past where you are today. Like, where is that business that you're doing right now going to be in the future? And have that big ultimate goal, because your kids are going to grow up, right? And it's going to happen super fast. Believe me, it's going to happen super fast. And when when they have their own lives and they're doing their own thing, hopefully you're not starting from scratch then and building something. Like, you've already thought about it. You've already thought bigger and thought to that end. And what is that going to mean then, rather than just focusing on like what money I'm bringing in right now.
Right. That's fantastic advice. And it's something that just came to me, that those that do want to stay home with their children and focus on their children, I commend, because to me, I have been in the workplace, I've run a college, I've run like multiple hundreds of employees, and that was way easier than being a stay-at-home mom and dealing with everything you have to deal with. It is like, I love both of them equally, but if you are in that season of your life where you want to focus on your kids and being a mom to your kids, great. Then maybe the working on it a little more each day would be researching what you need to know, like on YouTube University, right? Or, I mean, just learning something that you can. That doesn't mean you have to execute right now, but at least you have a whole bunch of stuff in the pipeline and the knowledge is there. So when you're ready to execute, you're not starting from scratch then. So thank you.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I tell my husband every day when he's working towards retirement. I'm like, you need something to do in retirement, and you need to start figuring it out now, because you don't want to wait till you hit it and then try to figure it out. Like, you need to figure it out now.
Yep.
Same type of concept. Yep.
And same thing with preparing for retirement. You need money in the bank. So
yeah,
saving every day. Well, Linda, it has been a true delight. Thank you so much for being on. Do you have well, actually, if somebody wants to contact you, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, the best place to find me is on my website, which is mindsetandmoney.com. And you can reach out to me via email there, or linda@mindsetandmoney.com. And I also have a special offer for podcast listeners. Mm-hmm. So it's mindsetandmoney.com/pod, POD. And there's a freebie download on there, and then an offer for a discount on my cohort. Mm-hmm. Lots of ways to find me there.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to share?
No, thanks so much for having me. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you. And Unbreakable Mompreneurs, again, my name is Charisse Walker. And if you are thinking that you cannot achieve what you really, truly dream, let's take a minute and shift your mindset. Call Linda, reach out to her, and make sure that you know that you can accomplish anything that you desire. So go make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright.